Hello and welcome to Small Screen Live. I hope you guys are doing very well. We are here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch as well. We're actually streaming out again to 2 YouTube channels. If you're watching on the main YouTube channel, Small Screen Co, it'd be great if you could head on over to Small Screen Live, share and subscribe over there, because that's where in the future after this we're going to be doing all of these live shows just solely on that YouTube channel. We'll still be doing them on Facebook and Twitch. I hope you guys are all doing very well. It's just Shaun and I tonight. James is, I think he's not very well, unfortunately, which James and I were both sick last week, which is why the show wasn't on last week. It was actually, I had a fever, which I haven't had in a very, very long time. But I hope you guys are all doing well in the chat. I can see quite a few of you there already. We've got River, I think that's how you pronounce it, R!V3R, I think it's River, saying, oh boy, Warner Bros. Blaming everyone else, but who the blame should go to themselves. They are the ones who have been disrespecting, abusing, and dividing the fans, and yet they expect to be rewarded. Well, that's an interesting comment. I'm pretty sure that Shaun and I might go into that a little bit more in this show, because we are going to be talking about Dwayne Johnson, and there have been accusations that maybe his ego is the reason why the Shazam and Black Adam franchises basically failed. We'll be talking a little bit about Shazam, Fury of the Gods as well. We've got Jedi Master EJ in the chat saying hello there. Hello, Jedi Master EJ. We've got TT Noah Gamer saying he better come back to the DCU for another Black Adam. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, unfortunately. And we've got Bobby Anderson in the chat saying, hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well, Bobby. We've also got Chrysler in the chat saying, Warner Brothers, we blame. Yes, well, we'll go into a little bit of that in detail further on in the show. But let's bring in Shaun, our guest. Here he is. How are you doing, Shaun?
Hey, hi. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right.
I thought I was a co-host here. I didn't know I was a guest.
Well, no, you are a co-host. I'm sorry. I'm still a bit sick. So everything I say that's wrong, I will blame the illness.
Well, if I'm a guest, I want some shrimp and cocktail sauce.
Well, we'll give you that even though you're a co-host. Don't worry. You can just be eating the shrimp and cocktail sauce live on the show. How are you doing apart from that misstep on my
no, part? That's okay. I'm doing great. I was sorry you guys were not feeling well last week. I'm finally feeling well.
Yeah, it's annoying because I was in London for a week, mixture of business and pleasure, and couldn't do both because I was sick. So that was really unfortunate. But got to meet a few people that I used to work with, and learned some interesting things about stuff that's going on at companies that will remain nameless for the time being.
Well, everybody's going crazy right now.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It really seems that way. Interestingly enough, one of the people, so I can't say who they work for, but she did say, literally, she came back from holiday, started working, and she said she's been in Zoom, like back-to-back Zoom meetings all day. And she said, my whole team basically resigned on the day I came back. And she works for quite a big company in the entertainment space. And apparently it's happening everywhere. A lot of people are moving around. There's a lot of unrest, I think, at the moment.
Yeah. Well, it's also the time of year because you get, you get the holidays, and then you get Sundance season, which is, everybody hates the "we'll get back to you after Sundance" talk, and then the Oscars. So I think now is a time of the year when people are going to start moving around. Also, it's just like nobody knows what's going on, and I don't think anybody has a clear plan for anything. I mean, I think there might be some for making movies, but between streaming and television and broadcast and everything, I just don't think anybody knows what the best way to go is now.
Well, that's one of the things that I find really interesting about the entertainment industry at the moment, because it seems to be in a state of flux, and we have talked about that a little bit before, where they don't really know where the future lies. So they don't know if it's if they should focus 100% on the streaming industry or go back to theaters. I get the impression that Disney is actually looking more at the theater game again than streaming.
You're sort of fading. Are you fading for everybody else or just me?
It's probably for everybody.
There you are.
Yeah, there I am. Just got to hit the mic and then I'm back. But yeah, it seems as though at the moment, especially that's a gag that won't work in the podcast. I mean, I get the impression that Disney, out of all of them, is the company that's starting to really move away from streaming and starting to. I mean, we've heard that there was that report the other day about Bob Iger saying that he's going to he's actually focusing. Have I completely lost you, Shaun?
No, I'm here.
No,
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. StreamYard is being annoying today for some reason. So basically, that they're going to focus on quality, not quantity. So they're actually going to start. It looks like they're going to start canceling some projects, or moving them around, or combining things, or making things that are going to be TV shows into movies. And I get the impression this is that Warner Brothers is going to go down that path as well, because we've already seen they kind of nuked HBO Max. And they're going to combine it into one streaming platform. They're going to combine HBO Max and Discovery into one streaming platform. It seems that it's just going to be called Max, which is a powerful name.
I personally voted for it to be called Bob, but if they want to call it Max, that's fine.
It's an interesting one. Danzig in the comments says, "Yes, I can hear you, Clem Fandango." Yes, that's a Toast of London reference. There you go. Yeah, the sound is back. Very good. But it's should we talk a little bit about Dwayne Johnson to begin with, because that is industry based, and it's actually quite interesting what's going on there. So you referenced to me an article in The Wrap. Now, right. I don't pay for The Wrap, so I could only read 2 paragraphs of it before they asked me to pay to read the rest. But it seems as though it was kind of on the same lines as some people have been saying on Twitter, which is it looks like Dwayne Johnson's ego got in the way of these two, so Black Adam and the Shazam franchises, to continue. Is that basically the gist of it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that he's made enough people angry enough, upset enough people that they're willing to walk away from Black Adam. And then there's also a rumor that he killed an after credits scene where Hawkman and Dr. Fate recruit the captain for the Justice Society.
That is something I've heard. Yeah, so that the original plan, and I think David Sandberg, the director of Shazam: Fury of the Gods, actually said this was true. That the original plan was to have the Justice Society members come in and recruit Captain Marvel. Is not his name, but he doesn't actually have a name, I don't think. It
is like, to his name. Mark Waid in Mark Waid's new series has officially announced that the character is now known as the Captain, which I think
just called the Captain.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good negotiation way out of it.
Yeah, because I haven't seen Shazam 2 yet, but I know after the first film, he still doesn't actually have an official name within the DCEU. So I don't know if they've done that in the second film. It's not come out here yet. But yeah, I have heard rumors that like Dwayne Johnson killed that, because I get the impression that he feels that those characters are very much Black Adam characters. And of course, the original plan was, at least as far as Warner Brothers was concerned, was to have Black Adam be a villain in the first Shazam movie.
Right.
And that's something that Dwayne Johnson did not want, because he does not see Black Adam as a villain. He sees him as an anti-hero. And he wanted him to have his own platform, his own big standalone movie. So do you think that it's a strong possibility that the reason we're not going to get to see any more of these films is because of Dwayne Johnson?
No. I think he may have become problematic, that they might be questioning working with him. But that article seemed very skewed to me. It seemed to really be trying to paint him with a brush that he's causing problems on a lot of things, because it was they also talked about the Fast and Furious feud he had with Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
And then they used that as a platform to get into talking about what his demands were for Black Adam, that he wanted the end credit scene with Henry Cavill's Superman, because he thought Superman is on a level with Black Adam, but the Captain is not. Even though Black Adam comes from that franchise, he's originally a Captain Marvel villain. But if the movies had done really well, God knows they've swallowed enough other stuff from actors, The Flash, and they're willing to go through with it. That they'd be willing to Miller put up with it from Dwayne Johnson, who's much more proven at the box office.
Well, this is the thing that I do struggle a bit with this bit of news, because it's not hard for me to believe that Dwayne Johnson had something to do with it, and stopping these things from happening. I'm not so sure whether Dwayne Johnson being in the first Shazam movie would have really moved the needle much. I think they estimated that it would have made them about 30 million more at the box office, which, to be honest, wouldn't have been a big deal. It actually probably would have inflated the budget even more by having him in the movie, because they would have to pay him. In the end, they got Mark Strong to be the villain in the movie, and I think Mark Strong is a lot cheaper than Dwayne Johnson. And Johnson was already
more interested in doing better work than Dwayne Johnson is lately. I mean, Dwayne Johnson, I think, is a really capable actor who just doesn't. He's more interested in his pecs.
Yeah. Oh, he's more interested in the zeros. I think he's very interested in becoming a billionaire. I think he's made that very clear. And unfortunately, I don't think acting is the way he's going to get there. Like, because he's not really flexing his acting muscles. He hasn't done that in a while. He's flexing his very large physical muscles, but not so much his acting muscles, which is a shame, because I think there is, underneath all of that, there is a very good actor there. I think there's a lot of potential, but he just doesn't seem to be interested in that. He seems to be interested more in doing big franchise stuff, which I find very uninteresting personally. But I mean, it's a shame, because I do like the Shazam movies. I think the first one was pretty good. The second one I've heard middling things about, but I'm interested in seeing it. I don't know.
I have no interest in seeing the second one, but then I will be fair and say that Captain Marvel is one of those characters that I discovered when I was very young, and I read a lot of the 1940s stuff. And actually, it was the last comic books I were collecting were old Fawcett Captain Marvels, and to me, there's such a specific tone to that character and the type of story that I don't see it in other things. I didn't dislike the first Shazam movie. I thought it was a mistake to break the character up into the component parts that early and bring Freddie Freeman in that early. I would have preferred to just stay with Billy turning into Captain Marvel. I didn't really like the idea of the way they changed Savannah. I mean, Captain Marvel, the original Captain Marvel comics are great children's stories. They're like Oz. They're, and they're the kind of stuff that can be enjoyed on several levels. And I didn't think they did it. I think they did a pretty good movie. But it didn't seem like Captain Marvel to me. And I will say Captain Marvel because I can hold the idea of several different Captain Marvels in my head at one time.
Yeah. And I think technically he was the first that was called Captain Marvel.
Yes.
Wasn't he? Well,
yes.
Before Captain Marvel's Captain Marvel.
1939.
1939. Dan Zig agrees with you about that article, by the way. The Raps article says, to me, the article did feel like a hit piece. However, as much as I enjoyed seeing Henry in the post-credits scene, it made more sense to have Shazam and have Black Adam cameo in Shazam. It did. It would have made more sense to have Black Adam there. But I think the problem with that was that Dwayne's vision for Black Adam was not really the comic book version of Black Adam, even though he likes to say, I've been a fan of the character in the comics for years. I don't think he has been. I just think he saw him as a character that he could kind of play. Because the character in the comic books is not the character that we got in that movie. He's very bad in the comics. He really does occupy a gray area, whereas the Black Adam that we got in the movies was kind of like I was a good guy. I was a dad. I was, I just was in the wrong place at the wrong time kind of thing.
Well, he's also, the way they portray him in the Black Adam movie is that the ends justify the means. He'll do whatever it takes to do it. And I think part of the deal was that he thought not only is Black Adam should be on a par with Superman, but think about the publicity they got just from all the stuff around Henry Cavill and will he show up or will he not show up? I mean, nobody would have given a damn if it was Zachary Levi and Captain Marvel showing up in the movie. Everybody would have just shrugged.
No. Yeah,
but I don't see how this is killing. There was another article today calling him a franchise killer, and I don't get that.
Well, I mean, I suppose that might have come out of the idea of him being franchised Viagra for such a long time, where people kind of brought him into the franchise to kind of rejuvenate it, which certainly helped with the Fast and Furious franchise.
Yeah,
but with me, my understanding of Dwayne Johnson and like how audiences see him is not from an American point of view. So I am used to UK and French audiences, and I'm going to be honest, they don't care about Dwayne Johnson. Like, to us outside of the US, it's like he's just another big guy. And, there are really not even that many actors nowadays that will get people to cinemas outside of the US. And, I think one of them is Tom Cruise.
Yep.
And I'm actually thinking more and more that Keanu Reeves is one of the other ones, because people seem to love Keanu Reeves, especially in these John Wick movies. And it's the first time for a long. I've actually just come back. I don't know if you've heard, but Paris is on fire at the moment. There's a lot of stuff going on in Paris, all about retirement age.
Yes. They started singing La Marseillaise in the Parliament, and like it's Casablanca or something.
Yeah, so a lot of that's been going on recently. A lot of bins being set alight. There's rubbish all over the streets because the men they're all on strike. Everyone's on strike basically. I literally came back from London today, and my wife was really worried. She was like, "I'm really worried about coming home because I don't want to see the bins on fire." And thankfully, where we are, it's quite calm. But there still is the rubbish on the streets. That's everywhere. It's horrible. Paris is meant to be the city of romance. At the moment, it definitely isn't. The city of garbage. Yeah, Dan, my rubbish has not been collected. No, it's outside on the streets, just been left there. But I support them. I think what the French government's doing is actually pretty bad. But
please hold on a second. Please, nobody compare me to Brian Posehn. I'm a big guy with a beard. That's about where it ends. But thank you. I apologize.
Saying in the comment. So basically, going back to the Dwayne Johnson. I wouldn't say he's a franchise killer. I'd say he's someone that people like to see in things, but they're not that bothered about him internationally. I don't think he's had a couple of hits, but I do wonder whether is he able to lead a franchise, to spearhead a franchise. I'm not so sure. I don't think he could spearhead a Mission Impossible franchise.
Yeah, Rampage didn't take. That was supposed to be a franchise. That didn't take.
Well, sorry, which one? My Siri went off then when I said that was
Rampage.
Oh, Rampage. Yeah, exactly. Well, that didn't do very well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It didn't spearhead a franchise. He's on social media talking about. You didn't offend me, River. It's just I've heard it before. It's just I'm much more handsome. And I've got references to prove it. It's. I've lost track of where I was going because I had to riff on that for a minute. But I don't see how he can kill those things. He's on social media talking about how much profit those movies have made. And what pushes this guy to do that? I mean, if it's fair enough if he wants to burn bridges at WB, then just blow him up and move on. It's not like he's not going to get any work. I mean, worst comes to worst. Yeah. I mean, the worst fate that awaits him is that he has to go to China and make a bunch of action movies. I mean, that's like today where old TV stars go. Like they used to go to Italy to make the spaghetti westerns. So that's the worst thing that's going to happen to him. And I'm guessing that no matter how much equipment he has in his gym, and he does have a pretty sweet gym at home if you follow him on social media.
He takes it around with him everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, does he? Does he schlep it? Yeah. Like they used to schlep Willis's around?
Yeah, they do.
I bet like if he stopped working today, he would never wonder where his next meal was coming from.
Oh no, he's fine, and he's got other businesses.
Yeah.
I think for some reason, like every Hollywood actor has a tequila company. And but what I will say is he is not a billionaire yet, and Ryan Reynolds is, which I find crazy.
No, he's not. No, he's not. He's only getting his top payout from the Mint Mobile deal will be $250 million because he's got 5 partners. Really? Yeah.
Well, that's
however,
but he seems to be a very good businessman.
Yeah, if Wrexham makes it into the Premier League, then he's a billionaire.
Which I think they probably will. I've got a feeling they probably will.
He and Rob are just going to keep buying players until they get there.
Yeah. Yeah. I did you watch Welcome to Wrexham?
Oh yeah.
I was
obsessed with
it. It's really good. Yeah, it's really good. It's well done. Puts Wales on the map.
Well, and it explains football in a way that Americans can understand.
Yeah, it does. But yeah,
how could he kill? Why would they kill it just because he was being? They're going to kill a $1 billion franchise just because the pro wrestler was nasty to us? That doesn't make sense.
Well, I think the way that you could frame it is that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson just costs too much. He costs too much to have in your movie. It costs too much to make a movie with him in it, and then it doesn't get the financial reward that you're expecting. So Black Adam had twice the budget of the first Shazam movie and made the same amount of money at the box office. Therefore, Shazam is technically a more profitable film because it made half the amount to make it. And also probably cost a lot less to market, because if you're going to market a movie with Dwayne Johnson, there's a clause in his contract that says if you want him to actually market the film for you, you need to spend X amount of money to get him to promote it on his social media, across his social media platforms. It's expensive. He does produce the films as well, which actually means the budget goes up because you got to pay him a producer's credit as well.
Right.
So it's just never ending with him. It's just so much money, and the returns aren't. They're not there. The evidence shows that he isn't a bankable star.
Right.
Whereas someone else like Tom Cruise is. I know people talk about Tom Cruise.
Yeah, because Tom Cruise is the last big real movie star, worldwide movie star now. He will pull people into theaters all over the world. I think that you can, you talk about creative accounting in Hollywood, and I think that they can use that to justify things like that if they just don't want to work with somebody. I mean, it does cost a lot. Yeah. You have to pay a lot for promotion. You probably have to give him one of the jets to do promotion. I don't think he's flying commercial.
Definitely not.
So are they getting a return that they want? Well, if you took up the same thing and said, if we had Tom Cruise in the movie and we were paying all that and we got the same return, they might go with it. But maybe he's just pushed them over the edge. Also, he sort of reached his movie star half-life.
Yeah, he has done. And I get the feeling that the films Cruise makes are much more cinematic and things that people will go out to the cinema to watch. I don't think that's the case with Dwayne Johnson. I think his films, I feel like I'm bashing his movies, but they're all kind of boring and a bit samey. And if you look at you go Skyscraper, that film was entirely made for the Chinese audience. Didn't do very well. You've got Jungle Cruise. That film was just trying to be Pirates of the Caribbean and didn't come anywhere close to that first film. You got Black Adam. Black Adam really felt like I enjoyed it, but it felt like a superhero movie that was made in the early 2000s, and it cost a heck of a lot of money to make. You're starting to see a pattern with him, whereas Tom Cruise is literally jumping out of airplanes, doing all this crazy stuff. Making a movie like Mission Impossible Fallout and Top Gun Maverick, which are cinematically just incredible. They're spectacles. You want to go to the cinema to see those movies, and they are bringing people in. Dwayne Johnson's not doing that kind of cinema. I feel like he's cutting corners with his movies. It's a lot of green screen, a lot of CGI. That there is a reason why people will see someone like Tom Cruise. It's because they want to see it for the spectacle. They want to see it because they know they're going to see someone that's actually doing something different and actually putting their own life in danger to do this bloody movie. Whereas Dwayne Johnson's not doing any of that.
And I think that doing something different is important, because remember that while Mission Impossible is a franchise, it's a franchise where almost every director has been a risk.
Yes,
for him to make it. Brian De Palma was way on the outside of Hollywood when Cruise was going to do MI1. What's his name? The Chinese director who did two. John Woo. John Woo. That was his first American movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yes.
Yeah, and then and you know, every movie.
J.J. Abrams.
J.J. Abrams and
it was his first movie.
Incredible.
Then the next one was the animator was Brad Bird.
Brad Bird, right? Brad Bird did that. Brad Bird. So he took the guy who directed Incredibles and said, "Hey, you want to do a live action movie?" He's looking for people that are going to push things and make him do something different, which is kind of really impressive from somebody who's a movie star and you know, really doesn't need to do that. He could very easily go the Dwayne Johnson route. So it's about more than him strapping himself to the side of a cargo plane or something like that. And while that's really cool, you know, the whole movie is like that for him. Yeah.
And then eventually he found Christopher McQuarrie, and they seem to have a very similar. They're very much simpatico when it comes to what they want these movies to be like. And there's like these. I think it's Fallout, then Dead Reckoning, then Dead Reckoning Part 2. There's going to be an overarching story arc there. So there's a reason, I think, why they're sticking together, and they seem to work very well together. But you're right, he chooses directors that kind of push him and ask for something a bit different each time, which is why like that franchise has evolved. So you can just tell from the Brian De Palma film to now, those movies have evolved,
right?
And that franchise has evolved.
And they've grabbed a younger and younger audience. I mean, my kid was was a toddler, I think, when the first one came out. He might not. When did Cruise's first Mission Impossible come out? It was like 2000, 2001, right?
I think it was in the 90s. I think it was in the late 90s.
All right. If it was before 99, my kid wasn't even born when the first one came out. And that is one of their favorite franchises, because it's just grown, and they've seen it, and they can see it go, and they can see it change, and they can see this guy age, but still hold on to his leading man status. And the kid really likes that, you know, and they say that 96. So it's 3 years before my second kid was born. He's the one who likes the Mission Impossible movies. He says, when Tom Cruise stops making Mission Impossible movies, that's when I stop going to see Mission Impossible movies. Yeah.
It's honestly, it's I think it's all quite fascinating, because they're two big movie stars, but one of them seems to be doing a lot better than the other. And I mean, again, I agree with you. I would not say that Dwayne Johnson is the reason why these franchises are now basically dead, which, let's be honest, we're not getting another Shazam film. Right. We might get to see Zachary Levi as Shazam in another property, but David F. Sandberg has already said, I want to go off and do other stuff now. It looks very much like that property is kind of dead. I think David F. Sandberg said he wants to go and do horror movies, which I'm actually really looking forward to, because I love his horror films. He made Annabelle Creation, which is actually I think it's quite a good horror film. And he did Lights Out as well, which is really good. But I mean, I don't think it's a shame, because I didn't really enjoy this part of the DCU that much anyway. I thought it was a bit lazy. I'm more looking forward to seeing what's coming next, and I think that this is what people have got to be focusing on. Not so much did Dwayne Johnson kill this, more this is coming to an end. Let's look forward to what's going to come in the future, because I think they're making some very interesting choices. They're going to be working with some really interesting directors. Although one thing I did want to talk to you about is the news that what Ben Affleck said in his Hollywood Reporter article interview, where he said he's not going to be directing a movie for James Gunn. Did you see that, and what did you make of that?
Yeah, is it because they don't get along, or is it because that's not the kind of vision that Affleck has, or is it just Affleck's got other stuff to do? You know,
One of the things. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Go on. Well, one of the things that came out of that was he was talking a lot about his experience working with Joss Whedon, and how the experience working on that movie in particular, Justice League, basically broke him. And he's talking about how when like he feels like the 5 minutes he has in this upcoming Flash movie, talking of the Flash and Tom Cruise, apparently Tom Cruise watched the movie and loved it and called up the director, said it's amazing, which I'm very optimistic about now. But apparently those 5 minutes that Ben Affleck is in, he said that's the best I've ever done, like best Batman I've ever done, best Bruce Wayne. And so that's my pinnacle, is those 5 minutes, which I feel a bit, okay, fine. But I also get the impression that because Ben Affleck and Matt Damon have just started this company,
right,
where they're basically going to be making films solely for this company. So they're going to be directing movies just for that. And it might have been a bit complicated to kind of rope that into DC Studios as well. And maybe Affleck just wants a change. I think he wants a palate cleanser. He wants to do something a bit different. He's actually still been playing Batman for an awfully long time.
Yeah,
like if you really think about it, he did the Aquaman cameo, which I don't think we're going to get to see. He did the Flash bit, and before that, he came back to do Zack Snyder's Justice League. So it's been a long old slog for him, and I get the impression that he's probably just done with DC and wants to move on and do something a bit more interesting for him personally.
He said he wasn't going to direct a movie, right?
Yes, he said he wasn't going to direct a movie. Yes,
right. So
exactly.
he could be in movies, but I think if you were Ben Affleck, who's I don't think I'm telling tales out of school that and I think it was part of that interview where he talks about he had mental health issues, and you're on the back nine of life or close to it. He and Damon are pushing 50, right? Which I don't mind. I don't mind a Batman that age, because God knows I'm older than that. But and you want Batman to be your age, right? Your whole life. He's just got other shit to do and other stuff to take care of, and those sets are complicated, and you're sitting around for a long time, and you're in an uncomfortable suit. If you watch the Val Kilmer documentary, and he talks about what it was like in the suit, he said he couldn't hear and he could barely see, and assistant directors had to come up and hold placards in front of him to tell him what to do. So it's kind of the Michael Keaton thing. Like, why am I going to keep putting on that suit when the movie's never about me? So why?
That's true. I mean,
what's he getting out of it? What's Affleck getting out of it? What's going to help? What does he need from it? Nothing. Superheroes seem to be cursed with him. Move on to something else. The new movie looks pretty good to me. The one about Nike.
That one apparently is good. That's what I've heard. It's doing quite well in that. But I think that was shown at South by Southwest. I think it was. Yeah. So apparently, the rumors are not rumors. The early buzz is quite good for that film, and I think that might be the first of the movies that is under this new company that Ben Affleck and, if I'm not sure, and Matt Damon are doing together. So, but I get the impression a lot of it is, he's kind of he's been doing it for a long time. He wants to do something different. He wants to do something that's probably more rewarding, career-wise. He likes the Oscars. He likes the awards. He likes to be at the events, apart from the Grammys. And it's that was funny.
Well, that's just because of the way. That's just because of the social media stuff. Like if the people leave him alone.
It was quite amusing. But that's the other thing. People don't leave him alone.
Yeah.
And I get the impression that. I mean, I know we end up talking about Snyder fans a lot of the time, and we probably will talk a little bit about that as well, because there was news there that we didn't get to cover last week. But they just don't stop. It's like they are constant. They're like, I'm pretty sure he's always asked, when are you going to do the Batman movie? When are you going to do the Batman movie? And after a while, I could imagine if I was an actor, I'd be like, I'd probably just get into a lot of trouble by just being like, shut up. I don't want to do this anymore. Just let me do something else.
There's an episode of Project Greenlight where he comes onto the set of the movie when HBO revived Project Greenlight, and Affleck's all bulked up to play Batman, and he's trying to do his job as a producer of this movie, and he's walking around, and all these people who work there are calling him Batman all the time. Well, look, here's Batman. Batman's beefed up. Batman's butt. And he finally just turns around and goes, "Stop calling me that. It wasn't funny after the first time." And the guy's probably gets that all the time. That's why he's so tired waiting for his Dunkin', smoking a cigarette, because the fucking maid just called him Batman for the third time.
Yeah, I think that's it. And I mean, again, I don't think I like Ben Affleck a lot as a director, but I don't think it's a bad thing if he doesn't direct the Batman movie or a movie for DC for that matter. It doesn't need him. He's made a couple of good films. I actually like most of the films he's made, even Live by Night, which is considered his worst movie. I think he's a very good director. But I think this Batman movie might need another pair of eyes and someone else, but to helm it. And I get the impression that that DC is going to look at lesser known directors to do projects, and they're gonna choose very carefully. And I mean, I'm fine with him not doing it. Did we talk about James Gunn getting to do Superman Legacy? I don't know if we.
No, we went back and forth on Facebook because we were talking about that. I think I just went blurry. We were talking about that, and I think James thought it wasn't going to work that way.
No, I always thought that it was. But what did you think about? Were you always under the impression that it was going to be Gunn's project?
Yeah. I would. If who would give that up? If that's. I mean, he's been a DC fan his whole life. He gets put in charge of anything. He's going to take the marquee character, despite what Batman's done for the past 30 years. Superman is the marquee character of all marquee comic book characters. He's the gold standard. And then you're going to write it, and then you're going to give it to somebody else to direct? No. Yeah, I wouldn't expect anybody to do that. And I think Gunn cares about that stuff. So
I think it was always. I mean, even before he directed the Suicide Squad, he talked about. How Kevin Feige asked him if he was going to do Superman it's obviously a character very close to his heart. And I think he said back then, I didn't really have a story in mind of what to do with him, but it sounds to me like this is going to be a very personal movie to Gunn, and I think it makes sense that he directs it. He's a very good director, so I'd be more optimistic with him behind the camera than someone else, especially if he wrote it. He's very good at directing his own stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And he's going to make really interesting casting choices. They're going to freak.
I think the casting is going to be very interesting. I'm actually really looking forward to that. So I just want to go through some of the comments very quickly, because I don't want people to think that we've forgotten about them. So here we've got BlackRock 316, the 316th BlackRock. I think Ben just wanted a number of movies as Batman, and that's it. I think you might be right there, BlackRock. And then you also had some. Oh, we got Raj in the comments. Raj, that's been a while. Yeah, I haven't seen you here for a while. I hope you're doing very well, Raj. And River making a point saying you're talking about a small minority of Snyderverse fans, not the majority. Probably true, but they're a very vocal minority, especially online, and also on YouTube. A lot of Snyderverse fans that talk a lot of crap. That's all I'm going to say. And Bakertown saying, I heard Nicolas Cage is going to play Superman. Now that would be very interesting, especially the fact that James Gunn was like, this is going to be a young Superman. Then you go ahead and cast Nicolas Cage. He can do anything, but I'm not sure if he could do that. So I hope you guys are doing very well in the chat. It's lovely to see you all in there. So yeah, as far as DC is concerned, I'm actually really optimistic about what's going to come. I think Shazam 2. I think that the film that I think is really weird is going to be Aquaman 2, because I get that film's coming out after The Flash. I think The Flash is going to be actually quite spectacular, and then you got this Aquaman 2, which I think might be a bit of a turd of a film. It's the thing that I've heard. I've heard that there's a lot of problems with that movie. Which I don't want to. I want to like it, but
I heard people were walking out of screenings that it had one of the worst scores of all time.
that it is quite worrying. So much so that I'm wondering whether they might. I mean, they're not going to do what they did with Batgirl, with with Aquaman 2, because it's still a big tentpole film. But I'm wondering whether they wish they could. If they wish they could just scrap it and be like, right, we're just going to start with the gun stuff and get that on, off and running. But what are your opinions on all of that?
I think they're sort of caught changing horses in it's like an old Western where the guy's riding his horse and he needs to jump onto the stagecoach to save it, but he keeps getting stuck halfway because there's this old stuff pulling them back, with Flash and Aquaman and whatever else they've got in the thing, and they've got to keep taking care of that stuff. So I bet they're sort of panicking about Aquaman instead of just trying to think about it as a movie and get a good movie out. They're trying to make sure that somehow this fits into the whole world that they're doing, and that doesn't really matter. I mean, it's nice to have a franchise that has multiple movies, but you have to get the one movie made first.
Yes, which I think is it seems to be what Disney is and Marvel Studios is going to start doing. Actually, it's going to start slowing things down, which I think is the best way to go. And actually, Dan Zig pointed out we forgot Blue Beetle. You know what? I often forget about Blue Beetle, and I really shouldn't, because I'm hoping that film will do well. I want that film to succeed. I just haven't heard much about it. I've seen a couple of shots here and there, but there's not much. And also the fact that film was also originally going to be released on HBO Max. So what's that movie going to look like? I don't know. That we don't know. That's the only thing I can say at the moment.
I'd love to know what was the decision-making process to kill Batgirl and keep going with Blue Beetle. That tells me a lot, because Batgirl's much more of a marquee property.
Yeah, I think Blue Beetle wasn't so far in development, so they could kind of switch it up a bit probably with that. But then again, honestly, the more I hear about the behind the scenes of Batgirl, the more I think that it just seems to me like they got that project wrong. Like they got the idea wrong. The release strategy was a bit. The release strategy was the reason why it was being filmed in such a way, and it was never really going to succeed, unfortunately. People have pointed out though that now that Brendan Fraser has got the Oscar for The Whale, will David Zaslav just release it, being like featuring Oscar winner Brendan Fraser? I don't think that's ever going to happen. Also, I think that would be illegal if they did that, because I'm pretty sure they had to provide proof that they had completely scrubbed.
That's right. They wrote it. Supposedly they wrote it down, right?
Yeah. So it's a tax write-off. So you got to eradicate everything. So I don't think that film exists anymore.
They're taking $30 to $40 million write down, and they still lost $2.1 billion in a quarter.
How to not run a company? I don't get how they're still around.
They could have taken that $2.1 billion, given it to Dwayne Johnson to shut up.
Yeah, that's so true.
And it would have been more of a positive thing for the company.
Do you ever watch Last Week Tonight with John Oliver?
Yes, I haven't watched it in a while, but I do watch it. Yes.
He's been making so many jokes about it. Like, he's like, I don't know what this company is going to be next week. It's just constant, because I mean, imagine working under that in that environment. You just don't know. It's so weird.
I was thinking about Warner's and the streaming thing, and I think I emailed you guys about it, but I have a feeling that, just from my gut, if Warner's were to back away from streaming and just provide content, that might be a smarter move in the current environment, because they're not just writing stuff down. They're actively selling stuff to Amazon Prime. If you take out that streaming thing and you're just selling stuff at a point of money you can take care of, especially at something like that new Batman animated series, which is going to have tons of marketing and tons of consumer products ties into it, maybe that's the safer move right now until stuff sort of settles down between broadcast, cable, streaming, and theaters. And broadcast actually is kind of doing okay at the moment in the States.
Yeah, in the States. Yeah, I actually think that's exactly what they're doing, because you already see. So it's Batman Cape Crusader was the animated show that is Matt Reeves, Bruce Timm,
right,
Paul Dini.
JJ.
They're all involved. J.J. Abrams. They're all involved in that. So Amazon ordered 2 seasons of that. So that's money in Warner's pocket.
I think they had already agreed to do 2 seasons for the HBO Max, and they just moved it over to Amazon, because the production cycle of animation is. I was thinking about it. I went back and looked at some articles, and if the production cycle of animation is similar to what I know, they were very close to getting film back. I would think by the time they announced the show was dead. So it'd be much easier just to swing it over, and depending on how many episodes you want to do, if you're doing like a regular primetime order like The Simpsons, you kind of have to work year round.
Okay, so basically those 2 seasons were already planned, already in development, and then Amazon just took them.
Yeah, I'm going to guess. That's a guess for me. If I think about production, and when you get the big cost of an animated series is your gear up, because you're paying for concept Bible, stories, artwork before you have any money coming in. Once you get that up, you can amortize it over. And if you keep people on salary year round, it can sometimes save you money from having to do 9 months in a layoff. So, it would make sense. The longer the order, the more the chances your show's going to make money.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. So, but I actually think this is what they're just going to do moving forward. I think they're going to make a lot of these shows, and then just sell them to other streaming platforms. Because for them it's money quicker. They don't have to worry so much about the returns, because they're basically guaranteed a certain amount of money on the sale. Because a lot of the problem that they have is that it's really difficult to look at viewing numbers of shows, because they're not really released. A lot of people are banging on at the moment about how The Mandalorian has got the worst viewing figures of any other show, any other Mandalorian, actually any other Star Wars show. But what people keep on forgetting are these numbers come from 2 main places. They come from forgetting the name of the first one, but the Nielsen charts, streaming charts. And the other one
which is using Nielsen still uses technology that was invented for radio ratings.
Exactly, and it's also I'm pretty certain it's only US based.
Yes.
Those numbers, they're only US based, and they are only based on television. So it's only numbers that come from actual TVs. I have not watched like any of these Star Wars shows on a television. I have used I know James hates this. I've used my tablet to watch all of them, right? And I am pretty sure I am in the majority of people that watches them on mobile devices or laptops.
Yeah.
I don't think that many people stream stuff on televisions anymore. And the other one, I'm annoyed that Samba TV, that's the name of the other company. Samba TV, Samba TV, they contact me all the time for small screen, because they're like, oh, these are the numbers. I'm like, I've actually messaged them back before, being like, your numbers are worth nothing to me, because your numbers come from a select number of Samsung TVs in the United States, a select number of certain models of Samsung TVs. So I'm like, that means nothing. That's like saying 30 people watch something on a Dell PC,
right?
So it doesn't mean anything. Yet then people love to write these articles where they're like, The Mandalorian season 3 is the worst rated show of all time, because I know that people don't like that didn't like the last episode of The Mandalorian. I actually thought it was quite brave to do what they did, but do not, whatever you do not look at those numbers and think that's actually the reality, because I think they're quite skewed, those numbers. This is coming from someone that talks to these companies all the time.
Well, they're getting to be like floppies, like comic floppies, right? And there are a certain number of people who wait until the whole show is done and then watch it in one go. There's people who will wait 2 or 3. Like I liked the first episode of The Mandalorian this season, and I just forgot about it. So I watched the second episode this weekend. You know, because I've got more to do than sit around and plan my Baby Yoda time.
Exactly, and I still haven't watched The Last of Us yet. I intend to watch it just all in one go.
Right.
Or just sit there and on multiple, not all in one go, but watch it at my leisure, which I think a lot of people do nowadays.
Right.
But it just annoys me a bit. It irks me because a lot of these numbers are also US only numbers, and I still feel like, I know they're all based in the US, but I still feel like a lot of these media outlets and YouTubers focus solely on the United States, and I'm like, guys, you're a very small market and you're shrinking. Yeah. Right? The Latin American market is much bigger than you now. So you got to start looking at those numbers. And it's one of the reasons why I feel like if I write something on small screen, a Spanish-speaking show will do huge numbers compared to a lot of the DC and Marvel shows. That's just the way it is, because more people are out there that speak Spanish than English or more interested in watching them. They also make better content, I think. I think the Spanish make some Spanish shows are brilliant.
From Spain or okay.
From Spain or Latin America. Honestly, some Spanish language shows and Italian language shows recently have been some of my favorite. There's a show that you should watch if you're into Sherlock Holmes. It's on Netflix. It's called The Law According to Lydia Poet. And it's a bit like Sherlock, but with Lydia Poet, who was a real lawyer, was the first first female lawyer ever in Italy to get the bar. A very good show, all set in Turin. Turin's beautiful. Lead actress is wonderful. Matilda, her name is Matilda De Angelis. She's brilliant. I'm trying to get an interview with her actually on small screen. But yes, that's my pick of the week. I love that show. But it's it just annoys. You can probably tell it just annoys me a bit when I see these YouTubers and people say Mandalorian season 3 episode 3 is the worst rated episode of all time.
Right. Well, it's and there's so many things that go into whether that show is going to be successful or not. That how many people are watching it is minuscule. And if you look at numbers, if you want me to jump into college professor mode, some numbers I ran across once is they ever hear the old American radio show Fibber McGee and Molly? It was a sitcom. It was very popular.
No.
Okay.
No. I haven't.
In 1948, it had been on the air for 16 years. Stop me if I'm getting becoming too much of a college professor. It had been on the air for 16 years. 1948, it was 48 million people listened to it every week. That was 1/3 of the population of the United States at that time.
Yeah.
And the most popular show in the United States now is lucky to break 3 million in a country of 300 million. And partially that's because there are so many other choices. But even back then, people were reading more. People were going to the theater. I mean, there was much more live theater in the United States. There was many more movies coming out in the United States. There were a lot of other things to do. Nothing hits that sweet spot that hits a whole bunch of the population at one time anymore. And they're
no.
So, like, what is a popular show? Explain that to me. Like, if I get 3 million of this demographic, are you happy with that? Because I would rather have, as a performer and a writer and stuff, I would rather have 100 million people watching it. But nobody thinks of it like that anymore. They're to get 3 million. They're doing numbers on the CW now that got Pinky and the Brain canceled when it was on primetime, and they're throwing parties over it.
Yeah, that it's very strange. It's really, really odd that these. I always look at the CW numbers and I'm like, they're really low. Yeah, like, oddly low. It's network television. You expect it to be a bit higher, but no, I don't know. And Bakertown wanted me to say the name of the show again. It's called The Law. So I am the law. Law. You say in America, according to Lydia Poet. Lydia Poet. You should watch it. It's a Netflix show. It's a good show. But so we've got Galactus in the comic. Galactus is here. Everyone be careful. The weird side story that took up the entire episode was some BS. It was interesting in a vacuum, but take up our precious Mandalorian time was a robbery. Yes, I understand what you mean. You haven't seen this episode, Shaun, but what I'm going to say is I think this episode will have a larger, more important meaning towards the end of the season. I think that, and I do wonder. This is the thing I have about the Mandalorian coming out weekly. I think it's much better suited to being watched kind of binged, because people were talking about the fact that the episode kind of didn't make sense and on a narrative basis, which is kind of true. It's like it kind of comes out of left field. But I think if you were to look at the whole season, it makes sense within the season. So I understand why people are getting annoyed about it, but I actually thought it was quite an interesting look at what it meant for people after the end of the Empire going into the beginning of the New Republic. What happened to those people that were used to be part of the Empire? I quite like that. I think it's actually expanding Star Wars lore, which is what I've always wanted. I do understand why people don't like it. I personally quite enjoyed it. I am on the fence, but that's me.
It gives me all the feelings that the Trade Council meetings in the first trilogy should have given me, where it makes this it's making this a bigger world, and it's not just about the same 5 characters and on the same 2 planets all the time.
Yeah. Oh, and Eddie Gomez in the chat. I haven't seen you here for a while, Eddie. Saying God of War TV series for when? 2024. I think it is coming out in 2024 next year. I think that's an Amazon Prime show. People are excited for that. Again, God of War is not a game that I'm very well versed on, so I can't, and I haven't heard much about the series, so I can't really help.
I've played it. And my kid really likes it. So, have they cast it yet? Because I'm in training. So, if they want a
well, you make
big
very good
guy
Kratos
with a big beard, I'm the dude.
I think they are casting it. I don't think they've cast it yet, but I think they are casting it as we speak.
I got to jump off and call my agent.
Dan saying, I'm holding out hope we have an episode just with Vesper Gang from Boba Fett. Oh, please.
Not unless there's music from the Lambrettas. That's all I want.
Galactus saying, I hope you're correct. I hope so too. Galactus, about that episode of The Mandalorian. I just can't see it not being the case that episode has nothing to do with the overarching story. I just think that would be very odd. Right, what else do we do? What else do we have on the docket? That's kind of, I suppose, movement inside Marvel Studios. It was revealed today that Victoria Alonso, longtime producer at Marvel, is leaving. I was wondering whether you'd heard about this, number one, and whether you think this might have a larger impact for Marvel Studios.
I saw the headline and I read the beginning of the article, and I think it's going to be more a matter of someone recruited them away for a better job. Because it seemed if I were out there now, I would be trying to poach people from Marvel.
Yeah,
and wonder if they got to see the recipe.
Yeah, because to me, I thought it was just kind of the end of an era, and she was moving off, trying maybe somewhere else, but maybe just kind of I'm done with this. She's been there since basically the beginning, isn't she?
Yeah. How long is that? That's 15 years.
It's a long time. Yeah. So she's a long-standing Marvel producer. I think she might have produced the first Iron Man film, actually. So she's been there for a long time. You might not be overly familiar with her, but she's always one of the names at the end of each film. Her name's always there, and she's no longer going to be there. I mean, it's mixing it up, I suppose, slightly. Someone else is going to have to come in and fill her role, but I do think that there's going to be a lot of movement inside Disney and Marvel Studios in the upcoming months. I think there's going to be a lot of people leaving, a lot of new people coming in.
I think there's going to be a lot of movement everywhere, and there's a lot of rumors about DC Comics being the victim of some layoffs going on. Yeah, there was an article on The Beat today saying nobody editorial so far, but that there's rumors that DC's cleaning house again.
Talking of DC, actually, because I showed you a video today, didn't I? Earlier today, I was in my favorite comic book shop. of all time, which is Gosh Comics in London. If you're ever in London, you should go to Gosh Comics. It's in Soho. It's a beautiful,
that place looked awesome.
It's my favorite comic book shop of all time. It's just wonderful. And they have the DC stuff in there, but the other stuff, they have a lot of independent comics as well, Image Comics, everything you could ever wish for. And whenever I go to London, I always go there. And I picked this up today, which I don't know if you can see that.
Nice House on the Lake.
Oh, which is a DC Black Label comic. Yeah. So I started reading. It's a horror comic. So this is I was reading it on the Eurostar on the way back. It's pretty scary. It's really good. It's got the compulsory quote from Damon Lindelof at the bottom, saying the creator of Lost, Watchmen, and The Leftovers. Two of those are very good shows. Surprising, terrifying, and wholly original. Make no mistake. This is the book of the year. You know what? And comicbook.com is also on here, but it's really
I enjoyed one of those shows wholeheartedly and the other two partially.
Leftovers is really good. I like Watchmen as well.
Till the last season. Leftovers till the last season, and then it's just like, really?
Yeah.
Well, if you want to talk about comics, hold on a second. Because I just got this. So if you're in America and you're going to do Free Comic Book Day, this is coming out, and I contributed the story to this. I couldn't write the whole script, but this will be coming out as part of a sort of a story of how Jack became the Pumpkin King. So it's from
that is very cool.
Tokyo Pop. So that'll be coming out, and this is the first part. So it's like Heroine. The first one's free.
That's very cool. Good. There is another comic that I got, which I didn't know much about, but it's called Ultra Mega, and this is a Image comic, and apparently, so a cosmic plague has spread, transforming everyday people into violent, monstrous kaiju. So it's late for me. Only the Ultra Mega, 3 individuals imbued with incredible powers, hold the line against this madness. Yes, it's a kaiju thing. Apparently, Guillermo del Toro loved it. Yeah, he's one of the quotes on this.
I like a good kaiju.
I like it, and if a kaiju's in something, I'm pretty sure Guillermo del Toro's read it. He's obsessed with those things,
and he's gone out to get the model kit with Spielberg and Abrams.
Exactly. Have you heard about Frankenstein? He's doing a Frankenstein movie for Netflix.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that.
I'm not sure.
I feel like his stuff was better when he didn't have everything at his disposal. When he had to cut corners and figure stuff out.
Honestly, Pinocchio, his Pinocchio on Netflix is one of the best things he's done in a long time, as far as I'm concerned.
I was looking at that today, and I was kind of like on the fence about it.
Oh, really? I really liked it. Again, I just like everything. That's probably I'm like Clint. If you remember Clint, he would come on the show in a couple of weeks. I like everything. And then final purchase was this Batman Haunted Night.
Oh yeah, Richard Pace has been talking about that.
Yeah, so I haven't read it yet. I'm going to read it, but I'm looking forward to it. It's one of the very few Batman comics I haven't read. So,
well, I caught up on my season 6 of Snowfall today, which is the last season.
Ooh.
And if you haven't checked out Snowfall, it's well worth a go.
Yes, you see, we do comics on this show as well. Everyone tells me so. You always go like movies, TV shows, comic books. You never talk about comic books. So just took me to actually go to a comic book store to start talking about comics.
I got to run.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much for joining me on the show today. And where can everyone find you before you leave?
Facebook and Twitter. Twitter, I'm Cheap Jack Shakes. You can find me at twinight.com, and I will be on vacation next week, so I'll see you in 2.
Awesome.
I'm going to the barber to finally have my beard taken care of on Thursday. So,
I've been seeing the updates on social media.
There's still time to keep this beard crazy if Mike Pence has enough courage.
Well, have a great time. Have a great holiday,
right.
And thank you so much for coming on chatting about all this rubbish.
Thanks a lot. I'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
Cheers.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Shaun. Have a good vacay. Right. Well, Shaun has had to leave us. I'll stick with you guys for a little bit. I'll go through the comments before I close it off. Galactus says that is an excellent comic book. Is that the? Are you talking about the nice house on the lake? If you are, I'm about a third of the way through it, and I think it's very good so far. Dan says I'll have to check out Gosh Comics, hoping to go to London in a couple of weeks to the Prince Charles Cinema. Oh, very good. I am a lifelong member of the Prince Charles Cinema, one of the very best cinemas I've ever been to. So that's a very good day out in Soho if you go to if you go to both places, go to Gosh Comics and Prince Charles Cinema. They're very close to each other. I always recommend Gosh Comics over Forbidden Planet. Forbidden Planet is the other big comic book shop in London. Forbidden Planet used to be amazing, and I really did love it. It's on Shaftesbury Avenue. They're all very close to each other. They're all kind of in central London, Covent Garden, Soho area. But unfortunately, now the Forbidden Planet is basically just Funko Pops, and it's a lot of mangas. They sell a lot of mangas, and I'm not really into mangas. I'm still into my more kind of old-fashioned comic books. I love anime, but I've never really been able to get into reading mangas. It's just one of those things. Who else do we have in the comments? So Del Toro has been trying to remake War of the Gargantuous forever. Yes, he has been trying to make that. And Dan has said, "I'm a big fan of Kronos. Kronos is one of Guillermo del Toro's best movies. I think he considers it part of a trilogy. There's Kronos, there's Pan's Labyrinth, which is amazing, and then there's a third film that he made. Was it The Devil's Backbone? So they're the three films that he did that he kind of considers a bit of a trilogy, and they are all brilliant movies. But Guillermo del Toro's next project will be Frankenstein. So who else do we have in the chat? I think that's about it. Galactus saying, I just finished Snowfall, also very underrated show. You'd have to ask Shaun when he comes back in 2 weeks. I don't know that much about that. And yes, nice house. Yes, the Nice House comic book. If you haven't read it yet, guys, you should have a read. I will let you know next week once I finish it if I think it's any good or not. But so far, I do love it. Right, that's going to about do it for me. If you do have any other comments before I go, let me know. But we've got one more here. So we've got Eddie Gomez. So when's the Netflix Assassin's Creed TV show coming out? I don't know. I believe it's on the docket for 2024, but it is in the works. It is another one of those video game TV shows, which honestly, I really do think we're in an era now. We're about to embark on an era where we're going to be seeing a lot of very good video game adaptations, especially in the TV space. So we've already got The Last of Us. Actually, Arcane came out on Netflix, which is brilliant. That is a really good TV show, and it's kind of set in the League of Legends universe. If you haven't watched that, you should go and check it out. It's an animated show, beautifully animated. Then we've got the God of War show that's coming out on Prime Video. We've got the Assassin's Creed show that's coming out on Netflix. So we've also got we've got Tomb Raider TV show. I think that's also on Prime Video, and they're also making another Tomb Raider movie. So yeah, it's one of those things that it looks like we're starting a new era. It's soon going to be the era of the video game adaptation. Probably not. I don't think comic book movies are ever really going to come to an end. At least I hope not. Yeah, and Bakertown saying the Super Mario movie. I think that looks brilliant. I can't wait to see that. That's a film that I'm really looking forward to seeing. And Danzig brings up Lance Reddick, of course. Lance Reddick died last week, which is really, really sad. He's going to be in John Wick Chapter 4. I'm a massive fan of Lance Reddick's. Ever since I saw him, the first thing I actually saw him in was Fringe. That was the first show I ever watched him in, and then I watched some of the other stuff he did, and then of course he became very famous. He became pretty famous for being in the John Wick movies, and I actually watched the whole Resident Evil series on Netflix just because he was in it. And that was some very, very sad Sad film, sad news. Danzig saying you're right. I think the showrunner did leave, but they replaced him with another person. So I think that's still going ahead. And Danzig saying, I like your AirPod Max headphones, by the way. Thank you. They're a Christmas present. I think two Christmases ago. No, I've had them for quite some time. Right, that's going to do it for me. Thank you everyone for watching. If you haven't, please subscribe. If you're watching this on the replay, thank you for watching it on the replay. We're also going to release this as a podcast. So if you listen to podcasts and you enjoy that, you'd rather listen to a podcast than watch a live stream, then go over to wherever you get your podcasts. It's called the Small Screen Podcast. You can go and find it there. Sorry, I've been sick, so my voice is about to go. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Goodbye.